This hadn't bothered Nelly in the least. She had nowhere to go anyway, was treated like a leper by all the staff, and a couple of weeks without the continuous orders and ill treatment from cook and the stuck-up kitchen maids would be a holiday in itself. Major Hutchinson had been away for over 12 months, fighting in Africa on the British Gold Coast in the Ashanti War, commonly known as the First Ashanti Expedition. But in his absence, Lady Margaret had not been without her male visitors, always claiming that they were bringing news of her dear husband. There had been one, in particular, a Captain Hargrove, who was a frequent visitor to the house, whereupon cook was always given orders to provide the best food with no scrimping on anything. Only the best would suffice for this special guest. Although Nelly seldom left the kitchen, her listening ears picked up on all the gossip, and she was now sure that it was the captain who had fathered Lady Margaret's illegitimate baby. She'd overheard whispered conversations between the housekeeper and cook on how Lady Margaret was flaunting herself, and how the whole affair would bring about a dreadful scandal. In later months, the dressmaker had been summoned to the house to fit her with some larger-sized gowns, with Lady Margaret complaining of how she'd put on weight, brought about by nervous overeating to take her mind off the worry of dear Major Hutchinson. But downstairs, in the servants' quarters, the gossip was that she was with child, with great speculation as to how she'd account for a baby when it came to her confinement. Barely 2 days had passed after the house had been emptied of its stuff, when Lady Margaret had, for the first time, rung her bell. Nelly tried unsuccessfully to smarten up her scruffy appearance before making her way up the 3 flights of stairs to Lady Margaret's bedroom, amazed at how luxurious and richly furnished the rest of the house was on viewing it properly for the first time. As she neared the bedroom, the distressing screams grew louder, screams which Nelly immediately recognised as those of a woman in childbirth. In her 40 or so years of living rough and moving from place to place, Nelly had also delivered a handful of babies in her time, most of them unwanted mistakes, which ended up in local foundling hospitals. "Help me, Nelly! I'm in the fires of hell! Please, help!" Her face contorted and dripping with sweat, she was writhing in agony on the large 4-poster bed. Nelly ran to her side, praying that there were no complications. "Should I go and fetch a doctor, ma'am?" "No, just get this wretched thing out of my body before I die!" she yelled, tossing and turning frantically. There wasn't much time for Nelly to feel nervous. She had to do whatever she could, and just hope that it didn't end up in the death of Lady Margaret. "I'll have to take a look at you, ma'am, to see how the baby's doing, and you're going to have to stay still for a bit, too." No sooner had she spoken, when suddenly the primeval groans, distinctive only of a woman bearing down to expel her load, began. And within half an hour, a small and skinny baby filled the room with its piercing screams. Lady Margaret flopped back onto her mountain of elaborating, embroidered pillows, not even glancing at her baby. "It's the girl," declared Nelly, relieved that the whole episode was over, with both mother and baby still alive. "Take it away from me," Margaret ordered. "Take it out of my sight and to where I can't hear it." "You needs to feed her, ma'am, and then she'll sleep." Margaret wrapped her head in the pillow and turned her back on Nelly. It was quite obvious that Lady Margaret wanted nothing to do with her child, and after a couple of days she handed Nelly a pouch of money, telling her to find a home for the child as far away as possible. She suggested that a farming family would be more than happy to receive such a large sum of money in return for taking in a baby who would be an extra pair of hands in the future. Lady Margaret was a cold and heartless woman, as if nothing had happened, and without even a mere glance at her child, she was back to her normal self, with all evidence of the events out of sight.